All right, my friends, so I just got done listening to a podcast. It's actually nothing more than a 15-minute sales show for essentially Allianz insurance products. I was embarrassed because the guy who did the podcast I like and respect a lot. Obviously, Allianz paid big bucks to get on this dude's podcast. There's no other way around that. It didn't say, at least, and I listened to the vast majority of it, I didn't hear any words that it was sponsored by Allianz. It was almost like, but man, it's embarrassing. I'm embarrassed that people are selling themselves out for that sweet, sweet money without stating that sweet, sweet money. And I'm not, look, I don't know if it was or not. I just, the salesmanship is so obvious what's happening here. So watch out. So what's happening here is Allianz is a big life insurance company. They specialize in annuities. And I will never forget and never forgive, actually, Allianz. I went to a producer conference. I forgot where I was. I was at some credit union. I can't remember. But I remember they sent me to some freaking producer conference in Minnesota, of all places, in the middle of wintertime. And I guess that was a reward for producing a certain amount of, I don't know what it was. But anyways, through the credit union. And I will never forget this. Allianz and a couple others, Minnesota Life, and one other, I can't remember the name, but they offered their products. The first thing was that they paid the highest commission. This is in 2002, 3, something like that. They paid the highest commission. I will never forget that. And I will never forgive that because they're sitting there thinking, oh, you know, we're so confident in our product that we will pay you the highest commission to sell it. So just think about it. If you got 6% commission to sell a Transamerica or 10% of commission to sell an Allianz, which one are you going to go for? So think about it. 10% commission on a $100,000 ticket is 10,000 schmackers. 6% commission on a $100,000 ticket is 6,000 schmackers. You get what's that? I mean, 40% more for selling Allianz with all the bells and whistles that your client won't recognize was a freaking not a great thing until way down the future. And I'm listening to this podcast, and Allianz is now saying we're going into the RIA market, the independent advisor channel, which I actually got no qualm with, because I'm not against annuities. I just want to be clear. I'm not against it. I am against annuities when they change their sales tactics to recognize that the days of the commission-based salesman who's selling on the sides of the commission payout is gone the way of the dodo bird, and now they're selling it. Basically, we are appealing to the RIA model, where you can actually get AUM, assets under management, so basically 1% fee, which is even worse a lot of times than selling the freaking upfront commission. As I said before, I would take 100 times out of 100, or I should say 90 times out of 100, the Ed Jones model. I was talking to a guy the other day. I said, man, once you break, I think he had 500,000, maybe even $1 million. So once you break $1 million at Ed Jones, you're basically getting American funds at NAV. That means no front-end commission to you at all. You're still going to pay a 25 basis point, what's called a 12B1 fee. So instead of paying, 35 basis points on your mutual fund expenses, you're paying 60 because 25 bips go to the advisor to basically manage your account, essentially. But still, 25 bips on $1 million is still $2,500 a year for not really doing a whole lot. Because American funds is freaking stellar. So, I don't want to hear any advice like, oh, no. But what would happen with this guy, which ticks me off, is he was put into American funds, a Class A share, many moons ago. Now they're moving him to fee-based accounts. And I don't know how that flies. I said that, I don't know how compliance isn't coming down on that with a hammer of Thor. That should not be allowed. If you paid American funds or Oppenheimer funds or freaking Putnam funds, your front-end A shares, you should not then turn around and have to pay a fee, a 1%. I think American or Ed Jones is charging 1.5%. That ain't right, man. That's not right. Conversely, if you're that's churning. If you're a RIA, a fiduciary, and you're reverse churning, which is you don't do anything for your fee. That's not right either. And we're not getting churning some more anymore but we're getting the reverse churning where you're basically what's called annuitizing your book. Look, I've been in this business a long time. I know the code word, the catchwords, and the catchphrases. I know how this works. So Allianz is rightly saying we're not going to. everyone's going the RIA channel because the fiduciary model has all that in a bag of chips anymore. No one wants to be a salesman. Now, there's still plenty of insurance salesmen, man. Plenty of them. So it's not like Allianz is not appealing to both sides of the industry, the salesman, commission-based guys, and the RIA-based guys. They just want to have one foot in the ground on both, talking on both sides of their mouth. Yes, I am bashing on Allianz right now because I remember the 10% commission days, and they had their freaking wholesalers up there, and they had their brochures even. So don't say it was just a rogue wholesaler, Allianz. You had your brochures that said the best commissions in the business. That's not right. That's not right. You shouldn't be doing that stuff. They don't get away with it anymore, but they did do that. You can't sue me for saying that because that is a fact. That is a fact. Were your products better? I don't know. But when you're offering the front end on your commissions as opposed to the product, that is a problem, man. That's not know your customer. It's certainly not client first. It's certainly not fiduciary, which is why the whole model of the fiduciary came to be, because that was nuts. Well, now we got the exact other thing going on. Hey, I'll put you in this account. I'll charge 1% a year, and I might reach out to you once a year. But basically, I'll send you this letter from the back office which says we just want to make sure we got to do our fiduciary due diligence to make sure that you have maintained yourself in what's the word I'm looking for, in a risk tolerance, and just fill out this thing and send it back, and that basically covers us. The whole thing's crazy, man. It's crazy. I don't like it, and you shouldn't like it. Anyway, so I'm listening to this lady, yap about, oh, now we're doing the RIA model, and she calls it IAR, and so an IAR in an RIA, it's just the whole thing with a fiduciary. So the Allianz and other insurance companies recognize that the model is now going to fiduciary, and as such, they're losing out if they don't get a fee-based insurance product. The problem with these insurance products is each state regulates it. So the National Association of Insurance Commissioners is 50 unique entities from Alaska to Florida, Maine to California. And so they got to get approval for each state. In New York, for instance, is notorious for being a freaking stickler. So if a lot of times they'll say, well, I just know how this works. So it's harder to get an insurance product to the market en masse because you got to get approval from 50 state regulators. And again, New York is a significant one for sure, rightly or wrongly. But anyway, so I'm listening to this lady. I say, I know what's going on here. She goes, yeah, now we can show you that. In her sales pitch, I'm telling you, man, it's agreeable to me. When you're in decumulation mode, you're no longer in accumulation mode, which means you don't have to be going for the utmost portfolio gain. You're taking some risk off the table. To take some gains off the table is a trade-off that many people are comfortable making. And that's where the annuities actually make sense. I get it. But I just don't trust these guys as far as I can kick them. I'm sorry, I don't. Because I saw the model from going on 20 years ago. The highest commission wins. I know that, man. Trust me. I know this. Now, I always liked the Ohio National. I don't even know if they're still in business. And the Pacific Life annuities, I always liked that too. So I always sold those two. The reason was, had a 10-year, guaranteed your money back no matter what happened. 10 years. With a 5% ramp up on the income. And I said, look, man, I tell people, look, if you're worried about the market, just put in this thing with a 5 or 7 year surrender charge. I like that product. I don't know if they're still offered a lot of the annuities. There's a guy named Moshe. I don't know how to pronounce the Hebrew way. Moshe Milevsky, I think, out of University of Toronto or Queen's College, someplace up in Canada. And he was way anti-annuities in the 90s. And then he said in the early 2000s that the annuities have basically given away the store, and they're good products now in terms of what the benefit you're getting for the fees. That was right when I started doing the annuities, because I came up from Vanguard. I said, I'm not selling annuities to save my life. But then I remember reading this guy say, yeah, there are some value added, as well as what happened after 2001 and 2, that people were just scared, man. And, going back to Dave Ramsey's model, where he says, we bash on Ramsey for saying, I can't believe you're talking 10 to 12% rates of return. And he says, well, at least it's getting people invested. And there's something to be said about that. I mean, look, I don't like it, but I think there's some truth to that. If you talk about 4 to 5% rate of return, no one's going to invest. And as such, they're missing out on the biggest investment benefit, which is time. And I completely agree with Ramsey there. And so the point being is, when you're doing these when I was doing these annuities, back in 2001 and 2, people were scared crapless with their life savings. That's right, they should have been. And I said, look, at least we'll get you invested, and that you have a 10-year guaranteed money back, on your money, your walk-away money, not on your income stream, on your walk-away money, with a 5% roll-up on the income. So basically, you put $100,000 in there after, or maybe it's 7%. I can't remember what it was, but anyway, we'll just say 5% roll-up. I don't think it's compounded. So that meant no matter what happened, say in 2005 you put $100,000 in there, you knew for a fact come 2015, come hell or high water, you would get, if nothing else, your $100,000 back, or you get an income base of $150,000 for where you could take, and maybe it was a 7%. I think it was a guaranteed income base of double, and I think that's what it was. You get an income base of $200,000 after 10 years, in which case you could take 5% a year off that. I hope that makes sense. So basically, your worst case scenario, 10 years goes by, the market gets killed a la 2007 to 2009, and now 2015 rolls in and you got less money you put in, you're guaranteed to get every single penny you put back in without question. I can't remember with the tax ramifications, I just don't recall. Or you could leave the money in there, and after 10 years, you could take 5% of a doubling of the income base. So $100,000 would guarantee you a $200,000 income base for which you could take 5% a year off, for $10,000. It's actually not that confusing when someone explains it to you. And hopefully I'm not butchering this, but it's actually pretty simple. It's literally that simple. It's okay. And when people heard that, so that's the worst case scenario. You might do better. You won't do S&P 500 returns. I guarantee you that. Why? Because you're going to pay freaking 3% a year on your fees. That's just a fact. And people say, yeah, I'm willing to do that, man. I'm willing to take offset upside to offset downside risk. And if you can explain it like that, when people understood what the worst case scenario was, contractually obligated to the insurance company of both Pacific Life and Ohio National, they said the worst case scenario is you get your money back in 10 years. The best case scenario, I don't know what it would be, but it won't be S&P 500 because we're paying significantly more fees than the S&P 500. In fact, if the S&P 500 averages 10 over the next 10 years, you only capture 7% because you're paying 3% fees, if that makes sense. And, you take Grandma Jones there, who just retired from the local freaking bank, as a head teller, and she's got $150,000 in her 401k, no pension. She's like, I can't afford what happened in 2001 and 2. So Allianz is making sense, their argument. I don't, look, yes, I take it personal. Some of these companies from the old days really bothered me in their sales tactics. I'm just telling you right now, Allianz jumps out at me because I remember the 10% commission payout thing. Maybe it was 8%. I'm almost positive it was 10, but whatever it was. Anyway, I just don't like it. So be careful for that, because this change of tact, where all of a sudden everyone's looking out for the consumer, it scares me to death. All right, we'll see you.